Call the meeting back into session. We do have another presentation that we would like to have conducted by our CAL FIRE representatives, Mr. Kyle and Mr. Wenham. He was afraid that Linda wasn't in the audience, but she's sitting back there.
My bass coaching skills are a little. Is this steel or what is this? Good morning, Rick Kyle, County Fire Warden, Unit Chief for the Shasta Trinity Unit of CAL FIRE. With me, I brought my supervisor, my boss, Doug Wenham, former County Fire Warden. We want to just take a quick moment to recognize the contributions and the support we've had from the two people that are vacating their chairs this morning. Specifically, I asked all former county fire wardens, Dwayne Fry, Ken McLean, Mike Chuckle, and Doug Wenham to accompany me to just show our appreciation through the generations. However, retired people being what they are have beat feet, and it's cold up here, and a lot of them are out of the area staying warm. So I brought the two working stiffs with me that are here to go with that. Glenn, I just wanted to say very much, you have a long tenure with Shasta County Fire. I see you at frequent meetings, and I see you at a lot of our events, and your support has always been solid and consistent. Linda, you have a tough job because the district that you represent is kind of in the hinterlands of Shasta County Fire Protection. Those challenges are unique. In all fire departments, stakeholders are passionate, whether they be the responders that are volunteers and paid, whether they're the public that gets served, or the shareholders or the cooperators. Those are very difficult stakeholders to maintain. I thought you've engaged them well, and I thought that your support was never unwavering, and it was fair, it was consistent. There are a couple other issues I'd like to bring up, but before I do that, I'd like to let my partner, Doug Wenham, express some thoughts himself.
Good morning, Chairman Modi and members of the board. Thank you for allowing me just a few minutes to also recognize Glenn and Linda's efforts. During a 10-year period, I had the opportunity to work with first Glenn and then Linda in various positions I held throughout the county fire department, from battalion chief to county fire warden. And I'd like to say that both Glenn and Linda have proven to be strong supporters of Shasta County Fire Department, CAL FIRE, and most importantly, the community-based volunteers. Glenn represented the county on the fire task force for many years, and he helped guide the fire department through some very trying fiscal, political, and emotional times, and I would say always represented the county and his fellow supervisors with distinction. For several years, Glenn attended almost every Chief Officer Association meeting that there was monthly throughout the county, from Platina all the way to Old Station and beyond. And those meetings weren't always as smooth as they are today, that Rick enjoys. But I will tell you, for the period that I went there, Glenn, your presence at those meetings always was a very positive force, and your calm demeanor and interjections as needed with some county history and support from the Board of Supervisors was a very positive force for the county and the county fire warden. And I would say that Glenn rarely, if ever, has missed one of the county volunteer appreciation dinners. His opportunity to show his appreciation and support towards those community volunteers. So I would comment that your commitment and support of our volunteer firefighters in the county is something you should be very, very proud of. In addition to both your dedicated support to Shasta County, I'd like to thank you both for the support that you personally gave me during my tenure with the county fire department. You're always very helpful in my endeavors, and I truly appreciate both your professional relationship and what I would consider a personal friendship. And I would just like to say thanks and good luck in your future endeavors.
The Shasta County Fire Department, CAL FIRE, would like to present both of you with plaques. I'll read you the text and then I'll make a presentation to you. But they both say, from the men and women of Shasta County Fire Department and the Shasta Trinity Unit of CAL FIRE, we thank you for your support, guidance, and vision of Shasta County's fire protection and emergency services. Good luck in your future endeavors. If you could come up, I'd like to present these. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Linda, thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Next item of business, election of the 2013 Chair and Vice Chair of the Board. Supervisor Baugh.
Chair Modi, it's my pleasure to submit into nomination for Chairman Supervisor David Kehoe.
I would second that nomination.
Any others? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now the Vice Chair.
I'm pleased to excuse me, Bill. Go ahead.
Be pleased to nominate Les Baugh.
Second?
Thank you. Any other nominations? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Kehoe, it's yours.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thanks for being here. We'll just take a minute and relocate up here.
Well, there you are again.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning. It is our pleasure to recognize some pretty important people in Shasta County, and we have done so in the form of Glenn and Linda. But there is one other individual that we need to acknowledge his service to Shasta County, and that has been an outstanding service. This morning, we'd like to present this plaque to Chairman Leonard Modi for his outstanding service to the residents of Shasta County. Mr. Modi, congratulations. Mr. Modi, do you have any words of wisdom for the new chairman? Other than adjourning the meeting prematurely.
Yeah, keep it moving and make it fast.
Thank you very much.
I would like to thank my colleagues. It's been a great year. I've enjoyed it tremendously. And as I mentioned before, it's due to the fact that the board offers its respect to all the members. It makes it easy for the chair to be there. And it's been my pleasure to serve the board and the citizens of Shasta County and the employees of Shasta County. So thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Leonard. Appreciate it.
Chair Kehoe, if it would be all right, I just wanted to add to that. Former Chair Modi, I have appreciated your experience and your wisdom as you've guided us through this last year. Your leadership has been greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Well, Chairman Modi, keeping in mind your exhortation, we're going to move this along. The next item, ladies and gentlemen, is the public comment period. Each speaker is allocated 3 minutes to speak. Comments should be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the board. Pursuant to the Brown Act, action or board discussion cannot be taken on open time matters other than to receive the comments and, if deemed necessary, to refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up and or to schedule the matter on a subsequent board agenda. We have a number of written requests to talk before the board this morning, and I will take them in the order that they were presented to us. The first speaker this morning is Ms. Dolores Lucero. Ms. Lucero, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks
to
for
you,
joining
too.
us.
Thank you. I want to put my recorder here. Okay. You got some papers that need to be passed out, so. I'll tell you, it's been a pretty busy year 2012. I learned a lot. And I also learned that we need to fight harder in this county. I'd like to talk about corruption, retaliation, and violation of civil rights. In November, sometime in November, the third month of the November, 2 citizens actually came forward to address the board. And regarding how our sheriff, Tom Paseko, who is back here, he actually refused to do a citizen's arrest. Instead, he retaliated against those 2 citizens by threatening them, by telling them, if you continue to harass us, we will have you arrested. And also, I filed a complaint with the FBI and regarding the sheriff refusing to basically to file a report regarding me receiving couple of threatened emails on my life. So I filed a complaint with the FBI, also other complaints with the FBI regarding our county and regarding certain people like sheriff, DA. And the other thing I'd like to talk about is the information I provide to you. It's regarding that Judge Jack Habit. I hope I'm saying the last name correct, but he was basically, he's actually getting sued. So I'm actually one of the victims, and there's more people who we have their victims. We will be filing a class action suit because that judge had damaged the families, and those families have a long ways to fix their problems that the judge created. It's going to take a lot of overturning the cases. So we will file a class action. And there's a lot of people who've been asking for this judge somebody to do something about him. You received a suit by, I guess his name is Charles Wagner, and also I guess the Attorney General's involved in regarding this judge. And I hope that you keep an eye and make sure that he does not continue to be on the bench to do more damage to these families. It needs to stop. Corruption needs to stop. And you, as a board, need to basically protect the citizens. I think the citizens this year are tired. I think we will be taking more action, and we will start pushing back. It ain't going to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lucero.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is Mrs. Dorothy Robbins, followed by Mr. Randall Faulkner. Thank you.
You've got a light on there.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to make one comment just to point out that the county of Shasta has no authority over the judges. They're the state of California. We don't appoint them. We don't pay them. We don't control them. It's the state of California. So,
thank you, Mr. Modi. Ms. Robbins, good morning.
Good morning, and I want to tell you the reason I'm here. I'm here because we have 2 new members on the Shasta County Board of Supervisors. And I'm a teacher of America's true Christian history of the Constitution. Do I have to get any closer to this? Are you hearing me?
Yes.
All right. Sounds a little better than it used to. At any rate, I have in my hands here a couple of the books that I've written. These are made for children, and they are for parents so that parents can learn as they're teaching their children about our Constitution. And Mr. Kehoe has some of my books. But this morning I wanted to show you this. This is a game. It's based on 4-line poems. And this morning I would like to read a couple of poems that have to do with government. The first poem that I would like to read, these are 4-line, you know, so it won't take long. The first one is concerning John Locke. Protection of property, Mr. John Locke taught, is why we join in unity, for otherwise we'd not. Then from Madison, property, said Madison, may be land or gold or bread, your ideas and opinions but your conscience is the most sacred. Previous to the Revolutionary War, we had a speaker. His name was Patrick Henry. Down in Boston Harbor can be heard our slavery chains, he said, and must our brothers labor while we at rest remain? Is life so dear? Is peace so sweet that we in fear should now retreat? Poetically stated. So they wrote a declaration of the wrongs they knew were true. They told of their intention to do what men should do. We will pay the price of liberty. On God we will rely. We'll fight for land and family. We'll fight until we die. They fought the war for 7 years. God always at their side. They won the war with prayers and tears, for God their needs supplied. And now we have Samuel Adams stating poetically, the truest friend of liberty is he who loveth virtue. Who should promote it truly? The answer is you. And now for you. Let those you choose as officers be wise and virtuous men, for these will use their powers to protect your property, my friends.
Ms. Robbins, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to see you at the board meetings, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate your words of wisdom. Thank you.
Those were from our founding fathers.
Yes. As spoken by our family father's representative, Mrs. Dorothy Robbins. Our next speaker is Mr. Randall Faulkner, followed by Ms. Pappas. I'm taking these in the order that they were given, so you're up next, Mr. Faulkner. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning. I hope my time hasn't started yet. Hold on just a second. Stop here. You're going to hear some others here soon, but I'm going to start right up in the middle now, but
Okay.
Let's do it. It wasn't staffing shortages that caused the lack of internal audits. It was a horrendous turnover rate and the total lack of desire to perform internal audits. And I'm speaking about our auditor's office. And we're talking about grand jury reports, and we're talking about the Rose Accountancy report. So how do I know this? At one point, I was very likely that CPA referred to in the 2008-09 grand jury report. I was not allowed to perform internal audits or even implement a basic fraud detection and deterrent program. In my 2 months in the auditor's office, I witnessed numerous incidents. Let me cite just one. I was in a meeting with the auditor when the auditor actually said, what can we do, and she named a payroll clerk by name, what can we do to make her life miserable? Could you please put this up for me? Let's look really quickly at a table 5.2 from the Rose Accountancy report detailing 4 major factors employees left the auditor's office. I wish you could make that a little larger, but 87.5% identified, yes, get the top there, identified upper management's actions. 76.9% identified work environment, stress, frustration, and 72% said they left the auditor's office due to unfair treatment by management. The following is a quote from the Rose Accountancy report. If you could just get the bottom part of this, it'll actually be there too. There you go. Former employees stated that current management manages through fear. As one employee stated, I made it through by quickly learning to keep my head down and my mouth shut. Yes, folks, there is a valid reason, a very valid reason, for the remarkable 30% turnover rate in the auditor's office, contrary to Mr. Baugh and Mr. Modi and Mr. Lee's ill-informed public denials. The auditor's office has been an extremely hostile working environment. We, the people in Shasta County, have great hopes and suspect that Mr. Muir will successfully and positively change that very, very quickly. We are very optimistic that Mr. Muir will create much better working relationships with the other county departments. We also expect he will extend his role to provide a supportive fiscal resource to the cities of Shasta Lake, Redding, and the local municipalities, or special districts. We will also address two additional issues with our new auditor. First, the auditor's office must begin to perform internal audits to examine the internal controls, effectiveness, and efficiency of our county departments and programs. After all, that's this office's primary function. Second, the auditor's office must implement a fraud detection and deterrent program to prevent and deter frauds like that accidentally discovered in the sheriff's office. We, the people, hope to set a regular schedule to meet with our new county fiscal watchdog, Mr. Muir. We want to assist him in any way possible to improve Shasta County government operations. We strongly desire to develop a respectful, open, and honest working relationship with our new county auditor. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Faulkner. Ms. Pappas, followed by Mr. Paulson. Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome to the new board members. This is going to sound a little backward because technically I was supposed to talk first to set his up, but hopefully I won't bore you too bad. Anyway, given the 3-minute time limitation, I've been asked to speak from Mr. Faulkner's prepared notes. Allow me to quote from and comment on a couple of Shasta. Oh, I think I'm starting to get laryngitis too, so sorry. The 2002 grand jury report said, the Office of the Auditor Controller has had a personnel turnover rate of over 60% during the past 3 years, which is twice the county average of 10% per year. Mr. Faulkner has personally made public records requests to determine the turnover rate through 2012. Those records show an average turnover rate of over 30% a year for over a decade. The Rose Accountancy Report on Management in the Shasta County Auditor's Office stated, the Auditor Controller's Office does not adequately serve as a financial resource to the county departments. 73% of county departments report unresolved issues. The Rose Accountancy Report also stated, the priority of the Auditor Controller's Office appears to be to weed out employees rather than support employees in their performance. This is apparent in large numbers, in the large number of new employees, 42%, who leave the Auditor's Controller's Office within the first 12 months of employment. Of these employees who leave the Auditor Controller's Office within the first 12 months, 33% are currently working in other county departments, indicating that they are successful in county employment. The 2009 grand jury report states, staffing shortages in the Auditor's Office have limited the ability to complete internal audits for fiscal year 2008 and 2009. However, the auditor recently hired a CPA to supervise internal audits and also assign a staff accountant to that function. Now go back to what Mr. Faulkner said. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Pappas. Our next speaker is Mr. Paulson, followed by Ms. Clifford.
Last Friday.
Good morning.
Good morning. Excuse my voice. I'm getting the same thing. It's going around. Last Friday, I hated Wes Foreman and his probation department.
Can we get your name, please?
Oh, Brad Paulson. And it was by my ignorance and stupidity, by their inactivity on a matter. And we've tied their hands. We've, as a community, have tied their hands to the point they can't even function. I want to describe a, we'll call it a hypothetical situation last week to protect the innocent. But they were going after a couple juveniles, and one of them was a ward of the court, another one had a felony warrant, and they were given the location. And then when they finally were able to go to the location, they took sheriffs along with them. Even the ward of the court, they couldn't even go into the house to look in his bedroom. We've tied their hands. They have to stay outside and beg for information on the porch. They're not able to go in. And the problem is, The juveniles are in there laughing because at our probation officers and our sheriffs, because they don't have the power to do their jobs. And as for this needing the money on the switch at juvenile hall, that's a no-brainer because this is an already shrunk down and overworked department, and you want them to be in 2 buildings at once. And some of those kids are in there for a reason. And a couple of them get together and hurt during this confusion, a county employee, and the medical costs, and God help, not death benefits, will far exceed this little bit of money. We're heading to a crisis point where the community as a whole has to support these things. It has to support the department and all law enforcement departments. And it's not going to be an easy thing. Putting on another part of this, putting 100 of these people released from prison in the same place is not going to be an easy thing. I don't even think it's possible or safe because they're just going to get together and plot. And the Second Amendment gives them that right. And if somebody that's not on this board here had 5 of them living in her neighborhood, maybe she would understand after there's no valuables and no cars left in her neighborhood, how putting the wrong kind of people together sometimes breeds bad ideas. And I want to thank all law enforcement and all for sticking with our community and helping us. Because I don't know all specifics, but I got an idea. Mr. Foreman could leave us at any time, get more cooperation and a raise. And I just like to thank Mr. Modi and all his and all of them for sticking with us, and we need their full support, and we need to support them.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Paulson.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Clifford, followed by Ms. Prigmore.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Well, thank you.
And may the Lord lead you in this coming year to do what He knows is right.
Thank you.
I'm Cheryl Clifford, and among other roles I fill, I am the 2013 president of the Shasta County Republican Assembly. The Assembly keeps track of elected officials and appraises the candidates during the primaries, or what's left of the primaries, and based upon gathered information and interviews, makes endorsements. This morning, I'm addressing the role of the auditor in the recent interviews of the auditor candidates. I noticed from reading the grand jury reports about the auditor's office that internal audits have not been routinely performed for at least over a decade. Internal, as opposed to external audits, are needed in order to adequately determine the efficiency and integrity of all county departments. They are, in fact, the primary purpose of the existence of an auditor. However, when I watched the auditor candidates being interviewed, I noticed that the focus seemed to be on the auditors getting along with the county agencies that they are to audit, and I understand that. But there was no emphasis on what the 2009 grand jury report emphasized, that the auditor is the watchdog of public funds. I didn't get the impression that the supervisor questions were designed to elicit from the candidates any emphasis that they would place on how they would go about achieving a good watchdog goal. Only one of the candidates, Laura Redwine, responded to question number 2 by mentioning internal audits as a means to achieving top performance. Those of us who realize how important the auditor's role is in county government are now very interested in Mr. Muir's approach to performing internal audits. Since none of your questions elicited his views on internal audits, we will be inviting Mr. Muir to speak to us and to fill in the information that was not given during your interviews. So on behalf of the Republican Assembly, I can safely say that our priorities are not on whether or not Mr. Muir gets along with other agencies, but like the grand jury, on how good a watchdog he is of public funds. When the auditor is once again an elected, not appointed position, this will be our priority. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Clifford. Ms. Prigmore, followed by and I apologize, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this name. It's Kitkowski.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
And welcome to our new electives to the office. It looks like we've got some excellent choices here, and we're looking forward to working with all of you. I'm here today also to talk about the Auditor's Office in support of Mr. Faulkner, and I'll be reading and paraphrasing from some remarks that he's prepared for me. First of all, though, I'd like to have you think about moving this meeting because sometimes it's hard for people to get to the 9 o'clock meeting, and it might be easier if they could come in the afternoon, late afternoon or early evening. So if you could think about that. Our purpose today is to continue to inform our public servants of the facts regarding the Shasta County Auditor's Office. And these facts have been repeatedly denied and ignored, and sometimes it seems like it's been intentionally concealed from them and the public. Gandhi once said, first they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they fight you, and then you win. And this is where we are today in regards to the Shasta County Auditor's Office. I think we're going to win here. Regardless of how often Mr. Ball, Mr. Modi, and Mr. Lees insist on denying the facts of the last decade, the evidence is overwhelming that the Auditor's Office has not performed internal audits and has been an extremely hostile workplace. As John Adams said in 1770, facts are stubborn things. Whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passions, they cannot alter the state of facts. We're here today to insist that our new auditor perform internal audits. Those are an essential tool to effective and efficient government. We also want to have the auditor implement a fraud detection and deterrent program. We want to know if our taxes are being spent effectively to accomplish stated department and program goals. And we want to know if those departments and programs are cost effective. Internal audits are a primary source of that information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bradbury. And our last speaker, please. Would you be so kind as to correctly pronounce your last name for us?
If you break it down like you did, it's Kitkowski, just like it's spelled. It's just
Okay.
looks kind of, it used to be 13 letters when they came across to America. Now it's dropped down.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I saw pictures up there, so I'm not sure where I should place that if I need to.
I think we can assist you here.
Okay.
Right here. You want both of them?
Yeah, just, I don't need me. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, good morning. My name is Bonnie Kitkowski, and I am the Northern California chapter leader of California Protective Parents Association. And with no disrespect, Mr. Modi, you and everybody here is responsible for us as citizens of the United States. I myself have personally charged Judge Halpin along with 78 members of my organization who all have had Judge Halpin remove our children and give them to our abusers. There's been nothing proven on any of us, including psych evals, no CPS, no police reports, no nothing, yet our abusers have our children. I've been on Dr. Phil, I've had a radio station, I protest here in Shasta County. I go down, I'm part of the biggest organization, which is led out of Sacramento. I've gone down to Marin County and Santa Rosa. We got the courts audited, and all the cases were overturned, and the children were given back. While they were doing that audit, they started shredding, and so we went and stopped the shredding. And my analogy to Mr. Modi, as far as it's not, our deal, it's like a dog that's been hit by a car and everybody drives by because it's not their dog and they don't look. But if you drive by and it is your dog and you get out and you're holding it and you're pleading for somebody to come help you, and everybody turns a blind eye. And that is what is happening in this county. And I have been fighting this. They took my daughter, as you see this picture, at 7 years old because they said she needed to learn her father more. I taught her sign language before she could speak. She never left my side. I breastfed her till she was 2.5 years old. They took her for no reason except for to learn her father, to learn to love her father, and because she used the words appropriate and inappropriate. I was a child survivor of incest. And I taught her appropriate and inappropriate touches. She knows the word. She's very bright, very articulate. This is her today. I don't know if you can see. She's going to be 13 on the 27th. I have not seen nor spoke to her since she was 7 years old, because the courts gave my abuser the right to tell me when I can and cannot see my own daughter. I have pled with the courts. I've been to the AOC in San Francisco, Melissa Fowler Bradley. They finally removed Judge Halpin and told me he'd be off for good at the AOC, and all they did was replace him back into other positions to hurt more families. And there are many people that are afraid of retaliation. However, I am not. And I will continue to shout from the rooftops that this is corrupt, that I know the players, and it belongs the police, the DA, the Judge Halpin, the court officers. I actually served Judge Halpin, had him served because I'm pro-per, and the person who served him at his home, because he would not receive it on the bench, which is illegal, he then had my server arrested, drawn into Department 7 in the courthouse right next door, and interrogated to find out how he knew where Judge Halpin lived. Apparently, Judge Halpin thinks that he is above all, and he is just with the assigned judges program, has no business being on the bench. He's too old. I could list on and on. But he has so much power that he can get federal marshals to arrest a person to try to interrogate to find out how he lives. Google it yourself. So I'm here to say this is going to stop. I don't know if I've already mentioned that I've been on Dr. Phil. I've been through all the protests, prayer vigils out here in front of Shasta County. I've been to everybody, and it is your guys' duty. Do not drive past us. We love our children. There's nothing worse than having children torn away from you where you have no choice and you have no repercussions, and you can kick the judge off the stand. You can kick him off and he's gone, but he's back. And I am pleading that you guys take action, because we're not going to stop, and this is going to become a class action, just as you were informed before. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the assembly this morning that would like to address the Board of Supervisors? Thank you for your comments this morning. We appreciate them. Next item on the agenda is item R1. Mr. Lees, are you going to take this?
I certainly can.
Okay.
This was brought to me by then Supervisor Glenn Hawes, but
okay.
then Supervisor Giacomini also.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Supervisor Giacomini, why don't I let you take it?
Thank you very much. This is a petition by residents of Fall River Mills to move the sign back to what's believed to be the actual end of Fall River Mills, and I would support the action.
Good. Thank you. Other comments? Is there a consensus by the board members to sign this letter and send it?
Looking for consensus or a vote?
You want to vote? Go ahead, make the motion. Pam?
Yes, I would move that we sign this letter and send it to Caltrans in support of relocating the Fall River Mills sign.
Second.
Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Supervisor Giacomini, would you like to take item R2 also?
I would be very pleased to. Thank you. This is a resume for the person that I would like to see if the board will appoint to the Planning Commission to represent District 3. Mr. Gene Parham, would you like to just stand up, please? I'd like everybody to meet Gene Parham. As you can read from his resume, he is highly qualified. He's proficient in land use issues, water rights issues, property rights issues, is a surveyor, is a civil engineer, has done amazing things, and he's also can really wrestle a calf. So I think he will serve us well and be a very sound person to represent District 3 on the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Now, we don't take action on this today, do we?
That is correct. We just received the nomination and action is taken at the next board meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Giacomini. Item R3, Consider approving and authorizing the chairman to sign a letter to the California Health and Human Services Secretary which supports a county-organized health system model for Medi-Cal managed care for Shasta County. I am bringing this before the board. Ms. Bradshaw, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Kehoe and honorable board members. If you could bear with me a minute to put a presentation up, that'd be great. Okay. I think we're good. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Doreen Bradshaw, and I'm the Executive Director of the Health Alliance of Northern California, affectionately short HANC. But I'm also a member of the Shasta Health Assessment and Redesign Collaborative, codenamed SHARC. And I'm here to share with you our efforts for planning for Medi-Cal managed care implementation in Shasta County and 6 other rural Northern California counties today. Just a few comments about the collaborative. We are a group of healthcare providers and community members that have been meeting since 2009 to basically look at and discuss what healthcare reform would mean for Shasta County, and looking at a number of projects to improve our efficiencies and to get our patients the right care, the right place at the right time. We are primarily focusing on care for the low-income folks, underinsured and uninsured, and Medi-Cal populations. And our goals for those populations to first of all, improve the patient experience, improve the overall health, and attempt to reduce the costs of care. I'm sorry this is a little to the slide, but we have a number of organizations that are working with us: community clinics, hospitals, medical society, county agencies, and I do have some representatives here today that are with us as part of the collaborative. Today we just wanted to, we were actually here 6 months ago in June discussing our efforts to plan for Medi-Cal managed care implementation for our rural fee-for-service counties. But what we'd like to do is provide an update, share the local and the regional preference for a county organized health system, and you'll hear the short-term COES, for managed care for Shasta County and our sister counties in Del Norte, Humboldt, Trinity, Lassen, Siskiyou, and Modoc. And then what we want to do is request your continued support. The board did provide a resolution in June and a letter of support for our efforts, but we're in the application process, and we just want to reaffirm that support today. So basically, what is Medi-Cal managed care? Right now, for folks who receive health coverage through the Medi-Cal program, it's in a fee-for-service system. So basically, they have to navigate the system, find providers themselves, and it's not coordinated. When you manage Medi-Cal, patients are selected or assigned to a primary care provider to coordinate their care, primary care, and also access to specialists within the health plan. Medi-Cal, through the Department of Healthcare Services, pays the managed care health plan a set amount for these services, and then the system of care facilitates the coordination of services, so reducing costs and better health outcomes for patients. Again, getting our patients at the right care, the right place, right time, and reducing inappropriate use of the emergency room. And I want to say that managed care and Medi-Cal has been in California since the mid-1990s, more in the urban counties because of the numbers. So in managed care, there's 3 different models. One is the 2-plan model, so that could be a local initiative. So that's something that the county would coordinate or develop. And then there's 1 commercial plan. So 2 plans that members can choose from, currently in 14 counties, and there's 3 million beneficiaries. Two, the second model is geographic managed care, and that's where the Department of Healthcare Services can contract with several commercial plans, non-competitive process, and then there's no local community health plan. Right now there's two GMC models in Sacramento and San Diego with about 450,000 beneficiaries. And then the last model is a county organized health system where the department contracts with a health plan that's approved by the county board of supervisors, when the health plan can be run by the county or its designee, and everyone is in the same managed care plan. Currently there's 14 counties in California and approximately 900,000 beneficiaries. So last year, the governor mandated that all of California and Medi-Cal health coverage would be provided through managed care plans. In the blue counties, you will see the counties are now currently in fee-for-service counties for Medi-Cal, and they're the counties that are targeted for the expansion, which is due to begin in June 1st of 2013. Again, the thought is by putting everyone in managed Medi-Cal, it will save costs, will coordinate care better, and will increase quality. So right now, the Department of the Healthcare Services is under a rural, an application process, procurement process. They have, the applications for this will be due in January 21st, and the awards will be made to one or two or more plans February 25th. Again, with implementation beginning June of 2013. In the issues, in the past, counties in California that have been designated managed care for Medi-Cal have always had a choice or could adopt a county organized health system based upon a resolution by the county board of supervisors. So that has been the historical history, and the counties have always had a choice and a voice in that process. In its current expansion of Medi-Cal to the rural counties, the COES model, the County Organized Health System model, there have been requests honored by Mariposa, San Benito, and Lake counties, which are currently in the targeted expansion counties. Last year, I'd say 2012, there was 7 counties, Humboldt, Del Norte, Trinity, Siskiyou, Modoc, Lassen, and Shasta, that all went together and, or separately, and individually passed resolutions supporting the county organized health system, and we submitted those resolutions as a package to the Department of Healthcare Services. To date, with numerous communications, the department has not responded to our requests, instead of advancing a geographic managed care model. So they have, I want to stress, they have allowed the expansion for some counties, but they still have not responded to these 7 Northern California counties' requests to be included with the COES. So the Shasta Health Collaborative has provided leadership on this rural expansion. We have advocated for well-designed expansion for managed care to rural counties. We think it's a good thing. It will all give us a business model to increase coordination of care, reduce costs, et cetera. We spent a lot of time researching and identifying the county organized health system. The COES is the best model. We also held a number of educational sessions. I think over 500 individuals attended in the numerous counties to really look at this. We've worked since 2010 to work with Partnership Health Plan, which would be the health plan that is provider of Medi-Cal managed care to our county, to develop that relationship with them. So we started before the governor's expansion and initiative, and we, again, provided leadership and education to our surrounding counties. Our advocacy, again, all 7 county boards of supervisors have given resolutions and letters of support. We have been actively participating in the department's process for this, for Department of Healthcare Service meetings, and have provided clear feedback in a multitude of fashions regarding the COES model. We've sent letters to the Department of Healthcare Services and California Health and Human Services agency directors requesting this. We have worked with our legislators, bipartisan, on the whole region, the 7 counties, and they all have gone and met with the directors to, again, express their constituents' requests for this. And we've obtained support from the Rural Health Association and the Hospital Council for the region. So real quickly, why a COES? Again, more than 61% of Californians in Medi-Cal managed care are in local health plans, not ones that are commercial, but local. So the two-plan model or a COES. It outperforms best and performs the best of quality of care for the Medi-Cal population. There's a strong focus on prevention. Consumers score it the highest at 90%. It has a high record of serving, or extensive record of serving seniors and persons with disabilities, which is, we have a lot of percent of seniors in our populations up here in Northern California. And it has been identified as the best model for rural counties. Additional benefits, there's better health outcomes. There's a local preference for the COES model. You have more case management and care coordination. In the COES, there's the opportunity to have local governance and a sustained voice in the delivery of healthcare services where you don't get that with commercial plans. There's established hospital and specialist referral patterns in the region that are appropriate, and that it does provide care, tertiary care center contracts. You may ask why the Partnership Health Plan of California. They are a nonprofit health plan committed to the Medi-Cal population. They have demonstrated success as Medi-Cal managed care in the COES model. They have significant experience in a number of counties, and most recently with Mendocino, a rural county. They were up and running with, I think, 8 to 9 months. They are committed to working with the 7 counties. They have very low administrative costs, 3%. And in other commercial plans, it's anywhere from 12 to 20%, and they take those profits and put it back into care for their patients with, increasing rates for specialists, helping with case management, transportation, et cetera. And they are very customer service oriented. They answer the phone. A number of these communities providers have been working with them and have a very good relationship. What happens if we're not successful with this? There will be a lack of local control and accountability if it's a commercial plan that's selected. There'll be much higher administrative costs charged for profits. In managed care, it is a numbers game. So we have a nonprofit health plan that is at least willing to invest some of those profits back into local community health that will help us all provide better care to our patients. There'll be more confusion for patients and the providers. For patients, it could be 2, 3, 4 plans. There'll have to be education. They may not understand what that means. And for providers, we don't have the layers of administration to work with these the commercial plans, which are often kind of tedious process. And then access to specialty care may be compromised because we won't have those higher rates back to the specialists, and it will definitely help them see our patients. So what we're asking for the board today is a continued, to reaffirm and continue support for this process, the COES model, Partnership Health Plan, and to draft a letter of support to Secretary Dooley, asking once again that they honor our community's requests and our region's requests to move forward with the county organized health system. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bradshaw. Questions, Ms. Bradshaw? Supervisor Giacomini, followed by Supervisor Baugh.
Great. Thank you very much. Doreen, I really appreciate that presentation. A question, reading the draft letter that we have before us, I get a sense that the Department of Health Services or Health and Human Services is not supportive of granting this?
They're not they're in the middle of their process. I think they're looking at what the numbers are going to mean if they carve the 7 counties out. Will there be enough for the numbers working with the remaining? We believe there will be. I think there's 404,000 new lives in this expansion, and I think we represent about 115,000. So there would be enough, we believe, to make it work. So I think they're working with that and also making sure that they provide a process that is, objective.
Thank you very much.
Supervisor Baugh?
A very similar question. I'll just mention 3% administrative fee is very admirable, so great target. Have they been specific in giving a reason for the response delay? I know you alluded to it a little bit right there with Supervisor Jacoby's question, but
No, we actually had a stakeholders meeting in Anderson at the end of November where we asked a number of questions, and the representatives from the department said because they were in the middle of the procurement process, they couldn't answer, but they would take those questions under advisement and then answer those questions that they specifically could in relationship to the RFA process, but they can't do anything about the decision-making process at this point.
I've read a few of the email streams back and forth, and one of the emails clarified that they had not made another decision, so they were able to do that, but they couldn't clarify why they were delaying the decision.
No. They're going to continue or go through their whole application process, and the decision should be made February 25th. We hope, because if they're expecting us to roll this out June 1st, that's not a lot of time.
Thank you.
Ms. Bradshaw, another question? Okay. Your colleagues, you're joined by your colleagues this morning, so would you be kind enough to introduce some of those ladies and gentlemen that are with us?
Sure, but I'm going to ask them to stand up and do their self-introductions.
Lynn Dora, the CEO at Hill Country Health and Wellness Center in Round Mountain.
Thank you.
Patrick Moriarty, community member.
Thank you.
Carla Alexander, I work with Dory DePayne.
Thank you.
Morning, Dean Germano with Shasta Community Health Center.
Thank you.
CEO of Shasta Regional Medical Center.
Thank you very much. Any concluding observations?
We'd really appreciate your support. We need to keep our voice unified, not only in Shasta County, but throughout the region, that we believe this is the best model to serve and provide health care for the recipients of Medi-Cal.
Thank you. Supervisor Baugh?
I'm going to move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to add one comment that I'm encouraged by the number of partner organizations that you've listed here, and I'm particularly pleased to see that our two major medical providers, Shasta Regional Medical Center and Mercy Medical Center Reading, both are supportive of this. It says a lot because, I mean, obviously it's going to affect them, and certainly wouldn't want to leave out our Shasta Community Health Center as well. So, but I think that's very encouraging that all the medical people who are involved in this thing are very supportive of this.
Anything else? For me, this is a bedrock issue of self-determination, as opposed to the imperious nature of how state government conducts its affairs. I think this is necessary for us. I applaud you for your efforts and the efforts of your colleagues. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item on the agenda is consideration of the consent calendar. The following consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They may be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested person may request that an item be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and consideration. The following items are going to be transferred to the regular calendar for discussion. Item C1, item C2, item C12, item C14, and item C15. Are there other items to be considered? All right. Is there a motion to? Thank you, sir. Second?
No, actually, I have a question for Mr. Cruz, please.
Sure.
Is it appropriate for a new board member who wasn't actually seated to vote on the minutes, the past minutes?
I would recommend, if you were not present for the minutes, to recuse in connection with approval of the minutes from previous board meetings.
Thank you. So I will recuse myself from that. That's it. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second.
Yes, I will. Recuse.
So, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. 2 recusals. Thank you. Let's go then to item C1. authorize the CEO to approve pay for employees who were called off work due to closure of county offices in Bernie. Supervisor Baugh.
Thank you, Chairman Kehoe. I have two questions for legal counsel, please. Mr. Cruz, would this in any way be construed as a gift of public funds? We're being requested to authorize payment for time not worked, and this is outside of the scope of our negotiated contracts with employees.
Thank you, Supervisor Bond. No, I don't believe this would be a gift of public funds. This is in connection, anytime that there's a public purpose associated with with an expenditure, then it's not a gift of public funds. In this situation, as I understand it, there was safety concerns as far as the closure of the Bernie facility, and the employees were prepared and ready to return to work at that time, and so they would have been received their pay if they had been present. So I don't believe that would be a gift of public funds. Also, to the extent that any of these individuals were salaried employees as opposed to hourly, under the Fair Labor Standards Act, we would be required to pay them anyway. And I don't know if that's the situation in this case or not, but no, in short, I believe it's an appropriate expenditure.
And then the second part of that question, does it establish a precedent?
I don't believe it establishes a precedent. It's a situation based upon extenuating circumstances that existed at that time, and I think every situation can be evaluated on its merits.
Thank you very much. I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Under discussion then, Mr. Lees, any supplemental remarks?
No, I mean, it's certainly something that I absolutely support.
I just think that perhaps for a little clarification for those who may be watching or listening and may not grasp the full nature of what happened here.
And for those of you from eastern Shasta County, recognize that on Friday, the Friday before Christmas, we had a usually large, heavy snowfall, and I don't use the word heavy extemporaneously because it was very wet. It created some concerns, and we had certain concerns after hearing of the roof collapse at one of the major retailers there in town. We had safety concerns and believe it was appropriate to not put any of our employees in harm's way.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number C2 is approve and authorize the chairman to sign a county claims list as submitted. Supervisor Baugh.
Thank you, Chairman Kehoe. Could we have read or at least explain what it is we're talking about here? Would you like to have someone to present that?
Yeah, Brian Muir, County Auditor. This is on your claims list for two reasons. One is that this is a request for a claim to pay for services, and there was no contract. And the CAO's authority is up to $2,000. Since this is $5,900, this has to come to the board for that reason. And also, this vendor is requesting advance payment. And this is as I understand it, this is an accreditation that's required by the state every 3 years. And there are not a lot of options as to who you use. This particular vendor is requesting this. In a perfect world, we would have had a personal services contract in advance, but given the situation, I would certainly recommend approval. And Ms. Link is here if you want to talk to her. We have talked about ways that if it was the board's desire that we could get around the requirement to prepay it. So.
And that's the reason that I pulled it. The prepayment seems extraordinary. If you're saying it's the only company that exists to be able to perform a service that's mandated by law, then I suppose we've no choice. However, it doesn't set right for a major company to request an advance payment. Doesn't seem to serve any. There's no logic or reason to it.
I agree with you. I would suggest that it is a simple solution that we've discussed is for the board just to authorize me to deal with this on a purchase order. If I gave this firm a purchase order, they would accept that and we could pay them in arrears.
Ms. Link? Oh,
No, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Ms. Murray.
Good morning, Leanne Link, Director of Business and Support Services for the Health and Human Services Agency.
And you're going to discuss it?
By county policy, we are not able to issue a purchase order for services. And so that wasn't an option that was available to us unless we come to the board and we request specific authorization to issue a purchase order, in which case the CARF would come out and do the survey based on the promise to pay under the purchase order, and then they would bill us after the fact for those services. But once again, that's only available if the board approves that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cruz, it's legally sufficient for us to issue a purchase order that is within the domain of the board?
Just to clarify, as far as is the question, is it appropriate for the board to approve the payment? Yes, it's legally appropriate.
Thank you. To me, Mr. Baugh's remarks are right on the mark. I don't believe it to be a sound business practice to engage in advance payments, and in this case we're talking about $5,900. I realize that some firms have a monopoly on service delivery, and if they insist, there may not be that many options. In this case, there appears to be an option by issuing the purchase order, and your department would support that? Mr. Mayor, you would support that, sir?
Yes.
All right,
Absolutely.
great. Pleasure of the board then concerning disposition of this matter.
On the basis, Mr. Chairman, of a slight change in approach to the issuance of the purchase order and then paying upon billing, I would move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you both. The next consent item for discussion is item C12. And that is adopt a salary resolution to add 11 full-time equivalent eligibility workers in support positions for Healthy Families Program conversion. How about giving us a little bit of background and then we'll proceed.
Sure. Good morning, Chairman Kehoe, members of the board. I'm Melissa Jenilevich. I'm the Director for Regional Services with Health and Human Services Agency. The item before you is a request for additional positions to address the transition of the Healthy Families Program to our Medi-Cal program. We're expecting to transition approximately 3,600 children from the Healthy Families Program to Medi-Cal. The existing children will transition beginning in September. Our new enrollment responsibilities actually began on January 2nd with this program. We anticipate about 68 new enrollments per month with these new responsibilities. To meet these new challenges, we're asking for an additional 11 full-time equivalents. This is a typical new eligibility unit for us. It would be 8 eligibility workers, 1 eligibility 1-2 workers, 1 lead worker, an eligibility worker 3, and 1 supervisor for the unit, eligibility supervisor, and 1 clerical office assistant is the request that's before you. Those workers would be added in a phased-in approach. We would add 3 of those staff beginning in January to meet the immediate new enrollment requirements, and then add the remaining staff in April to bring them on board, get them trained, and have them up to speed by the time the transition happens in September. We've received some additional funding to address the additional costs that are apparent with the addition of the staff, and we have sufficient funding with that addition plus what's already available in our Medi-Cal allocation to meet these additional costs. So no additional funding from our social services realignment or county general fund would be required to add these positions.
Thank you. Supervisor Giacomini.
Thank you, Mr. Kehoe. I actually had the opportunity earlier to visit with them about my question, and she just answered that because the funding for the positions is coming from federal funds.
Very
Correct.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Pleasure of the board concerning disposition of C12.
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion of the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item is C14. This is the second amendment to LabCorp of America's Holdings Agreement for the purchase, providing DNA-based genetic testing for parenting. Ms. Love, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Kehoe. Thank you.
Briefly, tell us what this staff report is about, and then I have a couple of observations.
Could I just make a comment? Somebody may have left their book up here. Oh, okay. I just noticed it. The request is to extend our DNA LabCorp contract for genetic testing. We and both HHSA have need at some point throughout our casework to establish paternity for children where their parents were not married or the courts have otherwise determined that paternity is at issue. We've had a contract with LabCorp since 2008. They have provided excellent, outstanding service. They've exceeded the standards outlined in the contract for timely genetic testing results. We have had the lowest cost of genetic testing since 2008 of most counties throughout the state of California. They've offered to extend that cost to us for up to an additional 3 more years at $32 per draw, and that's what we bring before you today and ask for your approval.
Thank you, Ms. Love. I move this from consent to the regular calendar for a couple of reasons. Number one is to compliment you and your staff for outstanding work here. By maintaining the $32 per specimen, you've saved us a lot of money, especially when viewed in juxtaposition with the 500 specimen draws that we do each year. But from a board perspective, you have given us sufficient information for us to make an informed decision on this contract because you say LabCorp has provided outstanding service, so the board has an indication of what's been going on in the past. And then on the second page, you say LabCorp has provided excellent responsive service and quality product. Yes. And I thank you for adding that.
You're welcome. And I would like to thank my assistant director who helped draft this report and information for you. Unfortunately, she's not here to hear all these compliments, but thank you. I'll pass it on to her too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Further comments? Pleasure of the board concerning disposition of C14.
Move approval.
I would second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Love. And C15, agreement with Voorhees Robertson Justice Services, LLC, for juvenile hall transition services. This is pulled by Supervisor Baugh and Supervisor Giacomini. Good morning, Mr. Foreman.
Good morning, Chairman. And members of the board, my name is Wes Foreman. I'm the Chief Probation Officer. Just to get us started, this request before you is to approve and authorize the chairman to sign an agreement with Voorhees Robertson Justice Services to provide transitional consulting for us to make the transition from the old juvenile hall to the new rehabilitation center.
Thank you, sir. Questions? Either. Oh, you're not showing up here.
Oh, I'm not showing up?
There you are now.
Sorry about, sorry.
Thank you, Pam.
You're
Please.
welcome. Thank you. I had a simple question. You have a set end date to this, which is September 30th. Is it, I mean, logically for me, it would be when the transition is completed. So do you expect that the transition will be completed by September 30th?
The expected completion of the project, the Juvenile Rehabilitation Center, is set for August currently, And going with the contract going through September, that will give us sufficient time to provide the receive the transitional services from the consultant. The services themselves is to help work with the probation and county team to make sure that all the transitional concerns are addressed. Those things such as safety, training, writing policies and procedures are taken care of prior to our entry. So this gives us sufficient time to get that done.
Sorry, one quick follow-up. I'll get these figured out yet. And what happens if we run over in that time?
Run over for the contract?
If you go past September and the transition is not completed.
Consulting service will prepare us to move into the new facility. So the effort being done will be managed by that time. If the construction project takes longer, the transitional services will have been complete anyway, and we will still be prepared to move in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Giacomini. Supervisor Baugh, please.
Thank you, Chair Modi, and thank you, Chief Foreman, for giving us a short introduction to the item.
He lives on.
Oh, did I call you Modi?
That's okay.
It was a compliment.
That's okay. Well, Chair, whoever you are, Kehoe. Chief, do I have your name right?
Chief, I like
There
your,
you go.
yeah,
It works.
right.
It works. Just a few questions. This is for a juvenile hall that has been in process for about 3 years. It's come at the request of the department and the approval of the board. We've paid to design it. We've paid we know what's going into it, the programs, the facility, everything has come at our own request. So why would we pay somebody else to tell us how to then transition into something that we have ourselves designed? And I'm going to give you kind of a scenario I've experienced many times in public life, that we hire a consultant who comes in and opens their book, because they've done this before, and they go through the book asking about 1 million questions of who? All of the staff who already know the answers. And then they regurgitate that and they give it back to you. I believe you have the expertise in-house, so why would we pay somebody else to do this?
Well, first of all, I have a few prepared comments. It was never any question from the beginning that the safety and security of the institution wasn't paramount to our managing the transition. Early discussions that we've had with the construction team indicated that we do not have the manpower nor the expertise to effectively oversee the transition from the old facility to the new one, nor did we intend to. There was $67,000 placed into the budget reserved for transitional management. Our juvenile hall director, who is the most experienced at this point, is already handling the extra duties of the construction project manager. So therefore, he's essentially doing 2 full-time jobs. Our only 2 solutions were to hire an outside consultant, somebody experienced in being able to manage and, as you say, yes, that's true, ask the questions of the team that's going to help put these things together. We did not have that experience in-house, and so the solutions were to hire an outside consultant or to provide extra help or overtime so that somebody within-house could do that. The options of extra help and overtime did not seem viable given the seriousness of the task. In addition, cost alone was a deterrent. More importantly, we remain in contact with our partners in other probation departments, and the other partners counseled us that the liability risk of missing something that would affect the safety and security of staff and youth under our supervision was too great to rely on limited or inexperienced resources. And therefore, by mutual agreement, it was decided that hiring an outside expert was the most prudent decision and that an RFP process was the best and fairest avenue. To give you a little bit of example of the kinds of tasks that the transitional consultant will help us with is that our move from the old facility to a new facility is quite unique. We are moving from a modular structure to a podular design. We are also moving from an interconnected structure, which means that when we are requesting services from assistance from other staff in there, we can just say, hey, Jim, I need some help. Hey, Jim, I'm transferring this minor down there. And so site to site, we could manage those concerns. We're now moving to a self-contained environment, which communication is going to be managed through computers and a central control system. That is new to us, and will need some training and in the new structure and new system. Moving this current facility, we are moving from a primarily visual security system to an electronic security system, as I've mentioned. It is moving from a familiar design to an unfamiliar design, and therefore the structure is unique to safety and security concerns, which are not everything. Now, we do know that the new structure is ideal for us. We have mentioned how well it's going to be a safer environment for both staff and the kids, but it's also one that is conducive to therapeutic or rehabilitative services as well. Training needs must be evaluated, and a plan must be created to make sure everyone is up to speed with the new design and any new system changes, and all of our policies and procedures will need to be rewritten and updated. So ultimately, our decision to move in this direction was based on our desire to reduce the liability and risk associated with running a safe and secure juvenile rehabilitation center from day one. Relying on inexperience and our limited manpower isn't wise or cost effective. And an expert consultant will be able to hit the ground running, come in and move the team through and make sure that all the issues that are concerned, all the safety, all the security, all the liability risks are taken care of from day one, and we're ready to move in. So with that, I continue to urge your approval.
Thank you, Chief Foreman. Just continue on that line of thought, and this next question will be for Mr. Cruz then, but you may as well stand by because there may be something else here. As mentioned, the exposure to liability, and in asking you the question if there is some special liability involved here that is different from basically when we turn the light switches in one of the hundreds of locations that county employees work in, there's liability. When we wake up in the morning, there's liability. So I want you to answer the question in consideration of this. And if I have the story wrong, please correct me, Mr. Lees, you might be able to do this. But it's been presented that this is a unique situation. The jail transfer from one center to the other, I believe, was conducted with an in-house team who evaluated the process, and instead of moving 35 people, moved several hundred people, including new policies, standards, systems, and all of those things that come with a new facility. So I'm wondering, is there unique liability here for 1/10 of the number of folks being moved conservatively, as opposed to a successful transition by the sheriff's team for a new jail facility? What makes this any more special? And I don't believe there was a consultant. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. I couldn't find a record of a consultant being hired like this to do this for the jail.
Thank you, Supervisor Baugh. With your permission, I'd like to ask Senior Deputy County Counsel David Yorton to respond to your questions. He was involved in the review of the contract.
Thank you.
It's an interesting question. I was not involved with the
name, please.
David Yorton, Senior Deputy County Counsel. With respect to the jail and transition of the jail, I was not involved in that, so I don't know what consultants were hired, retained, or not retained, or how it was done in-house. In terms of this particular contract, I would actually, defer to the chief as to what concerns he has with respect to the transition. I would say that for the purposes of a risk analysis or liability on the part of the county, there may be special needs and special considerations when you are transitioning juveniles in a juvenile facility, and I believe that Chief Foreman had made references to other counties' use of consultants in this type of transition. As for unique liability, I don't know that there's any unique liability other than the fact that we will be transitioning at-risk youth from one facility to another and entering into a completely new facility. So if there were some sort of incidents that were to occur in that type of transition and there were some potential damages in the part of the county, we could have some additional risk in this transition. Whether or not they're unique or not, I honestly can't say until that happens.
Thank you very much. And then one more just comment. In this proposed action, there's $17,975 that would come from the public safety fund balance. And while we have adequate dollars in that fund balance, I look at every dollar that we spend from those type of monies as there could be another deputy on the streets. And that represents 1/5 of a deputy on the streets. And so I'm very conservative in how we use those monies, and I would not be in favor of using the money in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further questions of Mr. Foreman? Okay. Pleasure of the board concerning disposition of C-15.
You have questions? You can ask. Yeah.
Mr. Chappelle?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I just have a couple of questions, and I just want to kind of reiterate what some of the things have been expressed today. You're talking about rewriting policies. Doesn't the current juvenile division have policies in place? Or what kind of policies are we talking about, I guess? I mean, I'm confused as to if we have to rewrite the policies and procedures. In my mind, I'm thinking you already have those. But evidently something in this move changes that you have to change that kind of thing. I'm kind of curious about that.
Yes, there are policies. Current policies and procedures were evaluated or audited by the state yearly to make sure our policies and procedures are up to date for the safety and security of the institution. The reference to write in new policies and procedures has to do with there will be changes in terms of a new structure, how we use the control center, how we move staff, how staff move within the institution, how we move detainees from one place to another place in the institution, and those will require updates and rewriting of policies. The state who is overseeing the project is also very concerned that that we have our transitional team in place so that we review everything moving into the new facility to make sure that they're all we've covered all the safety and security issues. I've referenced in the past that the current facility has blind spots that we have to manage and cover in supervising the kids. Moving to the new facility, we have by design managed some of those, but there's no way of knowing. I mean, we're going to have to continue to evaluate as we move in that we manage all those safety and security issues. It's prudent, in my opinion, to bring in an outside consultant to make sure that we manage all those things, that we don't make mistakes. I've also referenced, so those are the kind of things that I'm concerned about in terms of the uniqueness of moving from the structure that we have now into the new facility. In addition to that, I've mentioned that we do not have the manpower within house. Maybe, I'm not sure, we have the manpower within the county to be able to have somebody to come in and guide and have those outside eyes to make sure that we've covered all those safety and security issues. So we would have to be, I would be coming back to you expecting to receive approval to expend some funds to help us with this anyway. In this situation, this individual is very experienced. We specifically toured a facility in Sonoma that he was a consultant for. The Sonoma County Probation Department was extremely supportive of his services. They were fortunate to have him on board from the beginning of their project to the end of the project through their counsel and other councils, even those that have not used consultants such as this. They all recommend that it is in your best interest to hire a consultant to come in and make sure that you have all these things taken care of before you enter.
Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds like we're being way too careful. I'm just not for sure. I mean, the people that work there currently right now, should be able to address the concerns they have for security, which I would think that if they were involved with the planning of this particular building and what we're doing right here, they would have input on it, and and you guys would look at those issues to make sure they're covered. An outside consultant, I mean, you said his building, the ones he's put together, has worked really well. How important is Robertson's input? It looks like he's only going to be here once a month.
His importance is extremely important to us.
Okay, do you feel that once a month then is going to be adequate for this big move we're trying to make? I don't know. It almost seems to me that we've kind of got it out of context. It's been, I don't know. It's just me, maybe, but it seems like there's a big issue here, how we're going to do this, and we have to make sure everything's taken care of. And I would, like I suggest, I'm going to reiterate, I just think that the people that are working there too should have the input on the security issues that they have, and the security issues, if they have, are addressed. And then the way that you're going to operate, in other words, how you're handling things for efficiency, I guess what I'm trying to say here, it would be incorporated in this new facility. Okay, let's just put it this way. This consulting firm, are they going to consult with the people that are actually currently working there right now and address their issues also, so we cover those bases?
Yes, he will. He will not be doing it alone. He will be assisting the team of individuals that we're carving out of their regular jobs to assist in evaluating, rewriting, making sure that we cover all the safety and security issues. So primarily what this individual, the consultant, is doing is using his expertise to make sure that we're taking care of and covering all the issues that we need to cover, so that when we enter the facility, it's the most safe and most secure that it can be.
Okay, so something like that couldn't be related to a contractor, and they could take care of those issues for you guys?
The oversight services is what you're talking about?
Correct.
Yes.
As far as the layout of the building, I would think that the layout of the building would have utmost importance for the facility to be able to operate in an efficient manner.
Well, the layout of the building is an improvement over what we have, and so that's good for us, okay? The consultant's experience is being able to make sure that we write the policies and procedures, make sure that we've covered all the safety and security issues of the new facility. This individual has already been in facilities where those counties move from modular to podular, and the same concerns that we have. So some of the expertise, which we're not aware of, because we weren't involved in those projects and learned, we'll have to be learning from the ground forward. He'll be able to coordinate us and make sure that we cover all those bases.
Okay, thank you. And the only other thing I'm in agreement with Supervisor Baugh as far as the $17,000 we've got here, you know, I just want to make sure if we try to spend that, it's going to go to something that we're going to get maximum benefit out of, instead of some other area that might be able to spend it, that we get better benefit. Thank you.
Supervisor Modi.
Thank you, Chair. I have to have a little bit different perspective on this, I think. While I agree that I think that the consultant will be asking the questions of our staff to get the answers, I think what I see as more important is knowing what questions to ask. And sometimes when you're on the inside looking out, you may not recognize what questions you need to ask, and someone who has experience elsewhere can do that. I also think it's important to know in what order you need to do the training. You maybe have to build on certain things, and if you are out of sync, then that doesn't, and again, you're asking for your staff to figure that out versus someone who's been through the process before. The other thing was talk about efficiencies, and quite frankly, it's pretty common for anybody, is change is difficult. So if you just move them into a different building and say, be efficient, they're going to do what they've always done. Whereas you have someone from the outside who looks at it and says, no, to be more efficient, you need to do A, B, C, and D. The other thing that's come up a couple of times is security. I don't know that it's necessarily the security of moving juveniles from one building to the other. I'm sure our staff will be very capable of saying, okay, Joey and Johnny and Susie, we're taking you over to their building and we're going to lock in this other place. What I see more of as security issues is for the staff to recognize is when we move them through these different pods and stuff, do you lock this door first before you unlock that door? Do you have to contact someone first to say, hey, I'm moving, I'm going to that blind spot, so they know you're coming around? I think those are some of the issues that will be addressed. But also I see it as other record keeping, things like with a new system and stuff in the process, like How do you make sure that you're documenting the proper medical things, so you know if someone's in this pod or this cell that maybe under this new procedure you need to recognize and tag them for certain medical issues or care or upkeep or whatever else that comes up. So I see it as a whole new process and taking us forward beyond just doing what we've always done in the same building, except now we're in a new building. And quite frankly, I don't think we can afford to make any mistakes at the beginning while we learn on the job how to be more efficient or how to do it better. We need to have it right at the beginning, because one major mistake is going to cost the county a lot of money. So with those thoughts, I'm going to move approval of the request.
Is there a second to that motion? Thank
I'll
you.
second that.
Thank you, Pam. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion of the motion? I point out for those of you in the audience that this is a 4/5 vote required. That means that 4 supervisors will have to support this motion. Further discussion. Mr. Ball?
For reasons I've already stated, I'm not going to be supporting this motion, and you can take this as a compliment. I believe that you and your staff have every expertise to accomplish this in-house.
Okay. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Regrettably, the motion fails.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our discussion and our action on the consent calendar. We'll now move to general government, regular calendar, R4, Administrative Office, Board of Supervisors.
Excuse me, Supervisor Keogh, very quickly. On the last item, just for clarification, the 4/5 vote defeated the budget amendment, and as such, since the contract was contingent upon the budget amendment, the contract then failed as well, is my understanding, just for the record.
Thank you. R4, Administrative Office, Board of Supervisors, receive a legislative update. Mr. Lees.
Thank you very much. Nothing to report legislatively. We will hear more as Thursday. The governor will roll out his mid-year budget and a new budget plan, and so we'll know more as far as what the state fiscal shape is and what they plan to do about that. We're expecting to have somewhere around a $2 billion gap that still needs to be filled, but we'll wait and see how that shakes out. Just a quick reminder in that, you know, the higher sales tax that we're all enjoying paying currently is not new additional money going to new programs or anything new. This actually supplants the loss that they had in the previous years. So don't look for new money to be coming because we're all paying this increased sales tax. It is actually just to supplant what was lost. With that said, I would also like to bring the board's attention under the reports, the proposed letter that Supervisor Giacomini had brought forward in support of the district Lassen National Forest and the reading fire. And we have done this in the past, and what we'd be looking for is to push this forward, and I would be looking for consensus from the board on this point to send this letter forward.
Supervisor Giacomini, anything to add?
No, I think it's just very important that, I think this board and the county as a whole really pushes on the Forest Service to say, get in there and salvage, and they are proposing to get in there and salvage. I think it's highly important that we support them.
All right. Is there a consensus then to send the letter?
Yes, sir. I would recommend a motion, formal action, please.
Very good.
I would so move that we send a letter to U.S. Forest Service to support their salvage of the reading fire.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Mr. Chappelle?
No.
Oh, okay. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.